Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. I am Jay Lee. This is JLeesCorner. This is my late kind of review of Iyanla Fix My Life, Season 7, Episode 7. This was a heavy episode. The story is really about, two sisters, what happened with them. The mom is here and also one of the sister's sons is here. So we have Anne and Shatara. I think it's Shantara because it's Shantara. So this is Shantara. And in 2006, their cousin wanted to have her child's birthday party at Anne's house. Okay. So the day of the party, they said, no, people come, home invasion type situation at Anne's house because Anne's boyfriend at the time was a drug dealer who lived there, whatever, and the people came in to rob them. Okay, people came in, shot people, people died and everything. Okay, the cousin whose party was and her child was killed. Now, Anne got shot, Shantara got shot. Also, Shantara's two children got shot. They were all shot in the head. Okay, and the result of that, Shantara's daughter, who was shot in the head, is missing part of her skull. Okay, and her son, who was shot in the head, lost his eye. But they both will be having, issues, health issues, and disability issues, basically for the rest of their life. And again, this happened in 2006. And Shantara is upset because she feels as if I will always have to deal with my children's ailments based on the situation. I'm pissed at my sister because it happened at her house again back in 2006. Now, Anne brings up how now she stayed with the dude who was a drug dealer after this happened back in 2006 or whatever, because again, that was some man, people came to rob him or whatever. The trial lasted 12 years. Now they caught the people who did it, and the gunmen, like, they both got 6 life sentences because again, it was 6 victims. The 2 cousins, so the cousin and her child, Shantara and her 2 kids, and then Anne. So they got 6 life sentences for the 6 victims of this particular crime from 2006. Now, the family has never talked about what happened after all these years, and that's why they're here. They bring up how for 5 years Shantara did not speak to Anne because she was pissed off at Anne because again the shooting happened at Anne's house because her boyfriend was a drug dealer and someone came to the house and tried to rob them and ended up shooting, trying to kill them all and whatnot. So she also doesn't like, or she was upset at the fact that Anne has kids, but at the time Anne's kids was not there. So again, your kids ain't there, but my kid was there, our cousin was there, our cousin kid was there, and now they dead. So she's holding all this frustration, anger, resentment towards Anne because again, Anne's house, Anne's boyfriend, that's what she blames. Now, Shantara brings up how Shantara says how she's there to mend this relationship and try to forgive her sister based on what happened. She brings up how my kids will always have issues and it pisses me off. And it's hard for her to talk about because again, it's so hurtful. She brings up how she's never even went back to the location of where it happened. I don't know if Anne still there or not. Now, when Iyanla has a conversation with Anne, where Anne brings up how at the time my oldest daughter was gonna come later on, my youngest child was with her father that weekend or whatever, and then she's like, well, okay, think about how your sister feels. Okay, your sister is pissed because, again, her children were hurt. Yours were not there. So, again, that's another part of your sister's anger and aggravation. Also, your cousin was killed. The cousin's kid was killed, but your kids were safe and sound. And Anne brings up, I accept that, what happened. I know it's tough or whatever, but, I just have not discussed how my sister felt, because again, I don't know what to say. I don't know how to talk to her about what she feel, about what I feel, because it's so much feelings going on or whatever. She also brings up how she knew that she was living a street life back then, dating a drug dealer. She had been a stripper for 9 years at that point or whatever, and she was in that life. And so she understands living that life is part of what caused this incident to happen. And she then mentions how their father, was also a drug dealer. I'm looking like, okay, so it's a family of drug dealers. But again, Iyanla was getting piece by piece, like, okay, so you dating a drug dealer who caused turmoil and havoc in your life. Your daddy was a drug dealer. Okay, so you learned it from somewhere, and we have to acknowledge that. And she also brings up how their father, who was a drug dealer, went to jail when she was around 15 years old. I'm like, girl. So, she asked, like, do you know why the gunman, like, didn't just kill all y'all? Like, why did the gunman let, y'all were able to live where your two cousins were killed? And that's what she brings up, how we know they shot us all in the head. The gunman came in, was holding me, my cousin, her child hostage. And then Shatara came over, because again, it was a day at a party. So Shatara came over with her two kids for said party. And when she knocked on the door, they made Ann answer the door. And with having her answer the door, Ann said, when I answered, I said, they here robbing us, run. She run, and so does Shantara run or whatever. And she brings up how when she looked back as she was running, and she just noticed no one was running behind her, because again, they were shooting and they shot people down, and they ended up shooting her too. But again, she said they shot us all in the head. Their intention was to kill all of us. However, we made it, meaning me, my sister, and her two kids. And she brings up how I take the blame for it, because again, it was my house, it was my boyfriend, situation, whatever, and I felt bad. She brings up how one of the gunmen in the case at the court or whatever, said that the cousin's last words before they killed the cousin was, that's what I get for coming over here. And I was like, damn. So that, of course, make them feel like, it made me feel some kind of way, because again, I take more blame for that. Now, this is the thing. We can't blame Ann or even the boyfriend, who was a drug dealer, as the cause of this, as far as they pulled the trigger. That's not true. But however, sometimes the things you do, the life you live, can lead to certain consequences and situations happening, and it affects people around you who are in one way or other an innocent, unintended bystander. Okay, we're gonna leave that right there. So we then see Iyanla talks to the mama. Annette, and she brings up, okay, so I heard your husband was a drug dealer. She's like, well, when I met him, he was not. And when I married him, he was working construction. Now, if the daddy was lying, back then, saying I work construction, but he really selling drugs or whatever, that's beyond us. But she's like, when I met him, that was not what he was doing. I had a 10th grade education, and, I eventually found out he had started selling drugs. And so from that point on, I made it my job to get my GED, go to college. I became a secretary. I then went back to school, became a nurse. And around the time when I finished my nursing school and stuff or whatever, he went to jail, the husband. So she was able to support the family, because again, she's now a working nurse. But she brings up how he came home and she did take him back. And Iyanla's point was, so your daughter was dating a drug dealer, their father was a drug dealer, it was okay to be drug dealers from you, because they watched you accept their daddy. They watched you let their daddy have drugs in your house. You had them at a hot spot, a drug house within your house. You allowed it to happen. And the mama said, well, I guess you're right. Okay, so he came home. I took him back. But when he went back to jail, I said, not on my watch. I'm not going to continue to be with him. And then she left him. But she did not, I guess she didn't tell the daughters that she was going to leave the daddy or whatnot. I'm looking like, at this point, who cares? Okay, anyway, she brings up how now, because the mama was very sweet. The mama don't seem like the kind of mother who was like a negligent, mean spirited, mama. But the mama is aware of that street life. But she seemed like a sweet old lady, okay? But now Iyanla then talked to Shantara, top with the orange vest, and she brings up how her fear is that something will happen to her. And when something happens to her, who will be here to take care of my children? Who will forever need help? So that's her fear and what she lives with on a regular basis. She brings up how it's not a burden to her, but she does have hard days sometimes, but not every day is, completely bad. But again, just whatever they need, she's having to provide that. And so that can get a bit overwhelming at times. But she said, I promise God, if she kept my son alive, I would always take care of him. And Iyanla brought up a good point. Like, it's almost like she was serving a penance for what she felt like she was responsible for. Now, at first, we didn't get why she felt responsible that her children were shot then. But she brings up that when Ann came to the door and told her, they in here trying to rob us, run. When Ann ran, she ran. She then brings up how when she ran, she left her kids on the porch, meaning I ran for my life and I kind of left my kids fend for themselves, basically, or whatever. It's hard because Iyanla brought up, no one can blame you for making a split-second decision that your mind didn't even have time to make a plan. At the same time, I can't see myself, and this is me, because the whole time I watched this episode, I was like, that's DJ. Because when I show y'all the son, I was like, I pictured DJ at 18. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, I can't imagine myself when DJ's 4 years old and we go somewhere and someone say, oh, they shooting or whatever. I run for my life and I don't try to get my nephew. But that's me. You know what I'm saying? So I did question or wonder how she ran away and didn't think about her children. But she said, all I know is my sister said run and I ran. So it's such a hard thing because again, they say you can't judge someone's footsteps if you haven't walked in them. And I didn't walk in her shoes, so I don't know. I know for me, I feel like it ain't nowhere on God's green earth that someone can say something is happening and we need to run and I don't, grab him. But I also feel like maybe she assumed her kids heard someone say run and the kids didn't run. I don't know. Okay, but I'm like, I did question that a little bit in my head or whatever. Now she brings up how she felt like I should have stayed. I should have stayed with my kids, like my cousin Karla who was killed. I should have stayed and tried to, protect my children with my body, but I ran and I left them. So that's why she begged God to save her son. And if he did, she would never leave him because she felt like I left them on that porch, and that's why they were able, because again, the people shot them kids in the head. I'm like, they going, honey, straight to hell, to the pits of it, to the depths. Iyanla then bring about the father. Like, I heard your father was a drug dealer, you know what I'm saying, and boyfriend was also a drug dealer, you know what I'm saying. What about your, exes, and what about the kids' fathers? And she said, well, my kid's father, drug dealers as well, and I have dated drug dealers. So it was weird because she's like, Ann's decision to be with the drug dealer who brought drama deserved some get back. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, what? And she's like, I feel like our family shed blood. Like, people in our family died. Like, family should shed blood too. And so again, Shantara blames Ann and felt like Ann didn't do enough to get back at the people who did this. And I was like, well, girl, you want to have a war? But I also look, I can understand Shantara's points because all hell would rain down on this earth if something happens to my nephew. Like, oh, bruh, it's a hard pill to swallow to think of what happened with his family. You know what I'm saying? And so I can completely understand Shantara's point to where this happened to our family. And I think it's a thing to where not only that, you stayed with him. You know what I'm saying? You stayed with that motherfucker. I gotta see him at dinner. Yeah, you stayed with him. I would be angry too. That's probably where my retaliation would come in at. I got to get to that motherfucker right there. But I can understand, like, if something happens, all hell needs to rain down. And if my sister doesn't help me rain it down, bitch, I'm pissed at you. Okay? But we have to get to some of the things and whatnot. So Iyanla brings up, like, why you blame your sister based on something that he did? Like, you mad at your sister as if she did it. And we have to remember that you also had a drug dealing boyfriend. So the same thing that happened at your sister's house could have happened through you. So how you pissed because it happened over there or whatever? You know, it's like you're going to be an old, bitter woman. You know what I'm saying? Blaming her for something that she didn't even really do. Boom, pow, pow, or whatnot. Now, we then say Iyanla talks to all three women. And Tara brings up how, my whole life was on pause. My whole life was on pause, and your life kept going. But I had to stay here and take care of my children who had these issues or whatever, and it pissed me off. But I tried to be there for you to help you, but you shut me out. You completely shut me out. You would not even let me see the kids for, whatever amount of time. Again, for 5 years, we know for a fact that they were not talking. And so, at that point, Shantara admits, look, it was very hard for me to deal with things or whatever. I was very angry. And so I used all my anger to just block the whole thing out. Because if I don't talk to you, if I'm not over there, I can kind of try to forget what happened because I'm so mad about it. Okay, not only that, I questioned why I ran without my kids. So again, it's all the things I'm trying to avoid. So I can't talk about it. I can't talk to you. I can't talk to no one or whatever. So when she say that, she brings up how I was also pissed that you stayed with dude. I'm saying you stayed with dude who they were looking for, whatever, and you did not do any retaliation. Honey, and said, I'm not Scarface. We don't have a ton of guns to go and bust back. The men are in prison for life, having to think about what they did. Like, I can't do that. She said, we have already been to hell. I'm trying to go to heaven. And when she said that, I said, Anne came to a point where she realized it ain't nothing we can do to fix what happened. We literally went through hell. We were all shot, damn near killed. 2 family members died. We went through hell with this situation. We have to try to, get to heaven without causing more conflict, pain, and destruction. And sometimes that's all that you get when you let all hell rain down in retaliation. But if the people who did it is caught and they're in jail, for me, them being dead won't bring my people back. Let their ass sit in prison and suffer. Because once you find out you kill kids, they're going to go ahead and do what they're going to do. So we then see Iyanla talk with Tony. Tony is the son of Shantara. Tony's 18 years old. And, he brings up how he just wants to be able to move past what happens. You know what I'm saying? And that he does not even feel disabled. His only, physical, I won't say physical. The only thing we can see that's wrong with him is, he's missing an eye. He has a prosthetic eye. I don't know which one. But again, he brings up how, I don't feel disabled. You know what I'm saying? I want to go into ministry school. I want to be a minister. He's so much into church and God and the Word. And it was amazing seeing how much of a bright light he is in the midst of all this darkness and despair and confusion and turmoil between my girl. between his mama, his grandma, and his aunt. But again, he don't even know what happened. He doesn't know why he was shot or anything that happened because they haven't talked about it. And because at that time when it happened, he was like 3 or 4, he doesn't really have a memory or he doesn't know what happened. So it's like, I just want to know what happened, and so I can move on from this or whatever. And so y'all like, I'm gonna talk to your mom, your aunt, and your grandma and have them come talk to you. And I'm like, please do that. And then when she talks with Ann brings up out for her, she really wanted to die that day. I wish I could have died, mainly because of everything that happened because of it, the pain it has caused everyone, and her having to live with that, and how she blames herself in one way or the other. She brings up, I just don't know how to start over. Now, she was crying and expressing herself in all these ways or whatever, and I like how Iyanla, you are starting to start over by what you just did, which is standing in your truth about how bad you feel about what happened and how you take the blame for the part that you played in it, meaning you knew you had a drug dealer in your house and that was what kind of brought it there or whatever, but you have to also know, if you don't tell anyone how it affected you, they feel as if it did not affect you, which is why your sister feels as if your life moved on and her didn't. But she don't get that your life also was on pause, just in a different way. And she asked, what about your father? I heard your father was a drug dealer, and so that means your house was a hot spot, but the same way that things went left at your sister's house, y'all all knew it was a hot spot, a drug house or whatever. And people could have come to your parents' house when y'all was kids the same way they came to your sister's house. Did you know your sister's house was a hot spot? And she says, yeah, we did, and it was normal for us to be around that. And then she said, well, you took your children to a known hotspot drug house. Okay, you did that. That was your job, not your sister's job, to protect your children. So why are you upset with your sister as if it's her fault your kids were there? You took them there knowing what it was. Okay, even if you didn't think something was gonna happen, it always can. Okay, and then I like how she said, what I'm saying, I received that, meaning you right. You was 100% right. I can't fuss with you. I took my kids to a hot spot, and when it got hot, I ran and left my children on the porch, is what Shantara said to Iyanla. And Iyanla made her repeat, and that's exactly what my mother did to me, which made her start crying, because she then realized, damn, Mama's what with Daddy had us around all that, and the same thing happened to us now could have happened to us then. Damn, it was normal for us to be around that. And then she brings up how your cousin knew, didn't she? And she was like, yeah. And that's what the cousin said before she was killed. That's what I get for coming here. And it's a thing to where you have to watch the company you keep, even if it's family, and know where you going. Because again, the cousin saying this what I get for coming here, because it's a drug house. He's a drug dealer, and drug dealers at time get into this bullshit, and it's such a fucked up situation. Now she has them all come back around together, and she like, I need y'all to talk. Well, I think no, Tony wasn't there yet. We're gonna leave that be. But Shatara tells Ann, I'm sorry for blaming you for all these years. I know your house was a drug house. I took my kids there, whatever. I should not blame you for that. Please forgive me for blaming you. They hug it on out, okay, and Ann accepts the apology. Mama then bring up how I accept my part, and me, staying with your father and making it normal being with a drug dealer. Forgive me for making y'all think that was normal. Boom, pow, pow. They then all have this conversation with Tony to explain to him what happened so he can find some peace. And Grandma then said, you're my baby, I love you. He's like, yeah, what I'm saying? Well, your grandfather, papa or whatever, he was a drug dealer. He was like, oh, never knew that. Okay, he's surprised. His mom then say, your father was also a drug dealer. I've dated drug dealers in my life. And when she said that, Tony, like him saying, he was shocked to hear. They like, you know what? I thank God. I thank God I am not like my father. I thank God I'm not following in his footsteps, and I am into ministry. I thank God that I am not doing that with my life. And just hearing him speak I was just crying, because again, he's piece by piece finding out little things, but the fact that he still thanks God that his path is different than the path that his parents, his grandparents walked, and he thanks God for that. And then his aunt explains how, I made some bad decisions in the past. They were real bad. And you could tell the auntie didn't want to say it all. Okay, so Iyanla then said, like, the man your aunt was dating at the time was a drug dealer, and people came looking for him at her house the day of the party. The auntie then said, that caused all of us to be shot. Your cousin so and so, me, your mama, your sister, you, and all that. You know what I'm saying? And had I made better decisions, your life would be much better. I'm so sorry. Please forgive me. And Tony says he didn't break down crying. However, he still broke down emotionally and said, it's not normal for a child to have one now. I be teased in school and I try my best to act like it don't hurt. But it really hurts me. It hurt to see myself not living life as a normal kid. People don't know what I go through daily, how I feel, and I pray to God. I pray to God every day, and I keep my feelings to myself, and I keep it all in. And I think he may have been crying, and he was just finally expressing how hard it is for him to live this positive life when he is suffering from so much pain, like internally. And I was like, oh my God, he could be DJ, my nephew. And it's like this little boy is suffering based on stuff he had no control over, because the adults in his life made these decisions. And even though the adults in his life didn't make any decision, in a malicious way, no one wanted this to happen. But at the end of the day, keep your children safe. Do not put them in harm's way. And in one way or other, the auntie and the mama had these kids in harm's way. And by the grace of God, they lived, even though their cousins died. But him, like, I pray to God every day. I'm saying it hurts so much. It hurts me so deep down. He said it hurts me deep down inside. What I'm saying? I'm like, because that boy at home suffering in silence, because he feels as if he can't express how he feels. Iyanla just tells him how, it's because y'all have lived in a space of not expressing your feelings. You know what I'm saying? And so he lived that way too. So he's never told them how he felt. Because the auntie said, say, I've never seen him express himself like that. She said, yeah, because none of y'all do. You know what I'm saying? It's a whole cycle of it. But Tony will be the one that breaks the cycle, because again, he's following the word of God into ministry. And so it's he said, I thank God I'm not following in the footsteps of my girl. God protects children and fools. And in one way or the other, the adults was the fools. And God protected at least some of these kids. People don't get it. You can't be out here in that life. I had a friend, I won't say his name. I went to high school with him. And he used to sell drugs. Used to. Had got out of life, had 2 kids and a girlfriend, and people who thought he still sold drugs went to his house one night. And held his girlfriend hostage. Kids was asleep, 2 daughters. And when, came home in the morning, they killed him and his girlfriend. Didn't kill the kids. And the kids woke up and found them in the morning. And I remember when they called and told us what had happened. And I was like, he wasn't even doing that no more. You know what I'm saying? Like he wasn't even doing that no more. And people still made the decision to go there and take that man's life and take his girl life. Thank God they did not kill the children, but still, people don't realize you literally have to watch what you do, because you don't want gorillas coming in, just fucking up the whole zoo. And I don't mean that in a way of race. I'm just saying, like, gorillas are big and they fuck up shit. If you let them. And it's just a thing to where Tony's light outweighs his darkness. And I just want people to stop doing dumb shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm like, oh, this is so sad. I cried for like 2 hours. And I feel like this family got some healing. This family was able to mend some fences. This family was able to start over from this. And I always say, when Iyanla has people on the show who really want to do better, who really want to move forward, it works. And when people are there who don't want to do that, it don't work. And this works. To see the sisters fully embrace themselves and hug and forgive each other, and to also forgive themselves. For the mama to realize what she did with being with a father, and her, being able to accept that as her truth, and for the son, nephew, grandson, Tony, to want to walk a different path. Even though finding out why he got this way, not feeling any anger towards his mom, aunt, or whatever, was a blessing within itself. This is a great episode. It was a great episode. And I don't think I'm going to edit this at all, but I'm going to leave it be. I got to go, y'all. Peace.